Hi, good morning, patients and visionaries. My name is Johan van Zyl, and if you haven't been on my channel before, good morning. And today I will be telling you how I nearly became blind through a retinal detachment. Now, it's nearly been 2 years since I had a retinal detachment. Regmatogenous, wow, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Regmatogenous retinal detachment, and regma basically means a tear. And what regmatogenous means is that there's a tear in your retina, and the jelly goes in there, and it actually separates it from each other. So there's fluid now that builds up, and eventually the retina detaches totally. Now, this is what happened to me, and you might ask yourself, how didn't I actually know about this, know about my risk, and why was I a little bit totally surprised when this happened to me? Now, I can tell you that spending a month on a box, and that's the story for my next video, spending a month on a box lying on your stomach is certainly no fun. And you can have a look at my box, on which I spent just a couple of days short of a month, because after 3 days, I chucked my bed out. You cannot lie flat on your bed, a soft bed, for 24/7. And this is how I looked right after my operation. Now, let me start at the beginning and tell you what I learned whilst I was lying there on my stomach, trying to figure out how the heck did I miss this? Now, as I said, there's three risk factors which really increases your risk of developing a retinal detachment as you grow older. So there's three lifetime risks. Now, this is an eyeball which I have in my hand. And if you are born normal sighted, and let's say we assume that if you're not wearing glasses by age 6, that any change after age 6 is due to what you are doing with your eyes. So normally any genetic problem, be it short-sighted or long-sighted, astigmatism, should be picked up by age 6. So if you're not wearing glasses permanently by age 6, it means that you don't have a genetic problem. Now, in my case, unfortunately, my mom was very short-sighted. So I inherited a very short-sighted left eye, which was also my eye where I developed my retinal detachment. But my right eye I got from my dad, which was excellent, normal sighted. So I was normal sighted in the one eye, just about plano, as we call it, no prescription. And in my left eye, I was initially about a -3 with some astigmatism. Now, when I first got my glasses, which was in my final school year, I really struggled to adapt because there was such a big difference between the two prescriptions. And over the years, I'd learned to see with my right eye only. So the first risk factor is that if you are genetically short-sighted, you have a larger lifetime risk of a regmatogenous retinal detachment, or what I'll just call in future an RRD. Now, why is that? Because if you are short-sighted, your eyeball is bigger than normal. The eye structure is slightly thinner, the eyeball is longer, the jelly is not as strong. So if you are long-sighted, a smaller eyeball, your chances of a retinal detachment is actually much less. But if you are genetically short-sighted, you have a lifetime risk, and this is normally when you grow older, of a retinal detachment. Now, in my case, where we were living at that stage in South Africa, there was limited resources, and we only had a mobile library, which I just about read all the books. So what happened is that as I grew older, I was reading a lot. And because I was reading a lot, my eye was straining to read. And the more I strained there was, the more chances of a change. So there's just two reasons why you look like you look. And the one reason is genetics. And until recently, we had no control over that. And the second reason is the impact of the environment on your body. And when you look at that, there are three words that describes this golden rule or tenet. It says, if you change the body function, you will eventually alter the structure. So function alters structure. Now, humans weren't meant to spend 6 or 8 to 10 hours a day behind a computer or mobile phones, or in my case, I was reading a lot. So the more I was reading, the more I was telling my brain, this is what you need to now do, is you need to read with this good eye of mine, my right eye. And the more I was reading, the more my eye became slightly short-sighted, because I was telling it, become stronger for looking close. The effect was poor distance vision. And this is how we eventually picked up the fact that my left eye wasn't seeing, is when I actually couldn't see with my right eye. Now, the problem is if you do excessive looking close when you are young, that's when your body is super adaptable. That's when your body can change rapidly because it is adaptable. So the more you look close, the more your brain tells your eyes, it doesn't like the strain. Change becomes stronger for looking close, and the stronger the eye becomes, the bigger it becomes as well. And the bigger the eyeball becomes out of its original size, the more the jelly is stretched, the thinner the skin part becomes, the retina. There's also certain structural changes that happen as well. And now your lifetime risk increases as you grow older, because you might be, like in my case, genetically short-sighted. But now you've added an extra component to your risk, this environmental myopia. And today as a profession, we are very, very worried about what's going to be happening in another 20 years' time, because we are seeing really the first generation of children that is highly myopic when they are 15, 16 years old. Now, when I went and studied, my short-sightedness, my myopia increased in both eyes. So those are the first and really, I would say, just about the most important risk factors for your lifetime risk of rhegmatogenous retinal detachment is myopia and high myopia. And we normally tell our parents and our grandparents, if your children has gotten spectacles, 2 or 3 pairs before the age of 15 or 16, you need to do something rather sooner than later. You actually want to do something when they are younger, because that is the golden window of opportunity to stabilize their prescription. Because if you can stabilize their prescription when they are younger, you minimize the lifetime risk of them having retinal detachments when they grow older. And today, the good news is that there is certain spectacles and contact lenses that actually work very, very well to prevent myopia. Now, we didn't have this 45, 50 years ago. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of this, so I became short-sighted in both my eyes, and unfortunately, my lifetime risk also increased. However, I was not aware of the third factor, which dramatically increased my risk as well. Now, if you are over 45, like many of my patients, and it seems to me my subscribers or visionaries are, if you are over 45, this is one factor that you can control. And of course, knowledge being aware of your risk is certainly something which I wasn't aware even of how big my risk was. So this third factor is if you grow older and over 45, you pick up at least 25 or 30 kilogram. Like in my case, we moved from South Africa to the UK. And our lifestyle was very different there, where in Johannesburg it was an early morning lifestyle. We were out and about, we were going to gym, we were eating well. Suddenly everything changed. And over a question of 5-6 years, I picked up about 30 kilograms. Now, I was never diagnosed as a diabetic, but I had all the signs and symptoms of a diabetic. So if you become a diabetic when you are early 40s or 50s, a type 2 diabetic, you increase your risk dramatically because unfortunately diabetes on its own carries quite a high risk of retinal detachments and sight-threatening loss. Up to about 25 times higher, the International Diabetic Federation says. So, that's 2,500% diabetes alone has a bigger risk of sight-threatening problems, especially if your diabetes is not well controlled. Now, if you add that to this genetic short-sightedness which I had, and of course then the environmental impact of all this reading I did to myself, if you add all those risk factors, then you're just about guaranteed to have a retinal detachment. Now, I knew I was at risk, but I didn't realize that a small little head bump 22, 23 months ago, and I saw a couple of flashes and floaters, I didn't know that that small little head bump would actually cause a massive retinal detachment, a tear and a hole. This was on a Sunday evening, and the Monday morning when I woke up, I saw all these flashes and floaters, and I knew something was going on. And mid-morning, I already started to see a shadow across my vision. Now, I didn't realize, and this only came later, that there's not a simple test for a patient to do to try and determine if you have a retinal detachment. I was just fortunate enough that I realized that I'm having a retinal detachment. It was just after Christmas, New Year last year. And the surgeon, which I knew now for 20 years, wasn't available. The surgeon that did my operation, I only actually met him on the operating table. So if you have a retinal detachment, a rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, a sudden tear, I suspect what actually happens underlying is that your eye jelly becomes tensed, it becomes stressed because it had to grow, it had to stretch when you were young. Now, when you grow older, the jelly inside becomes more fluid-like. It's a normal process, but it's not the right size anymore. So when I was actually trying to figure out why the heck I didn't see this coming, I realized for the first time that this is most likely what's happening. Now, there's no real scientific research on this matter, but we do know that if you are short-sighted, you have a retinal detachment earlier. It's more serious. You have more tears and more holes. Your chances of full recovery is also less. So in my mind, all this is fact proven, and I will actually include the links below in my description of the research which I've done. But in my mind, what happened to me, and this is what I'm warning you about, is that a small little bump, because the jelly is tensed, when it comes off the retina from the inside, it comes off like with a spring. It comes off suddenly. It doesn't come off smoothly and gently. And this is the biggest single risk that you might have for a serious retinal detachment. And if you have a retinal specialist surgeon, an ophthalmic surgeon, you have about 2 days, and make sure that your shadow across your vision does not reach the small fine area. We call it macula off. I was already there when they operated on me. So today I see a line and I see a bump. Now, in my next video, I will tell you what happened during the operation, what happened post-operation, and why did it take me literally 2 years before telling my story about my own experience. And I must tell you that today I am blessed to say that I have nearly 100% vision in both my eyes. Last year I didn't only have an operation on my left eye, I also had an operation on my right eye, my good eye, because after COVID, I woke up one morning about 3 weeks after my booster injection, and I just started itching. And I was prescribed cortisone, sulf, and stuff like that, which unfortunately now led to a cataract at the same period last year. So last year I had not a good year when it comes to eye operations. Actually, I had a very good year because I can see better now today with both my eyes than I could just about see from birth. But there's one thing I need to tell you, it is when you see your specialist, you need to give him some information regarding what we call a target refraction. Now, that'll be upcoming in my next video. And today I can just tell you a couple of things in summary. One, if you have children and grandchildren, make sure that you look at preventative myopic treatment. Make sure that you try and minimize the lifetime risks of retinal detachment for your children and your grandchildren. We have contact lenses today and spectacles that will prevent your prescription in those changing years between 6 and 20 where your body is super adaptable. We have special lenses and contact lenses available today to minimize that chance of your eyes changing. And we have a program in the practice that we look after our patients. We've also had a couple of patients, one specific patient that's given us a lovely testimonial regarding the Cooper lens, the MiSight lens, and how it changed her life. So yes, if you are a typical visionary, a patient of mine, and you have children and grandchildren, you want to tell them now, look after their eyes when they are young. And if you are over 45 and you've picked up more than 25 kilograms, more than what you were at age 18, you need to start doing something about that, because your risk of then becoming a type 2 diabetic has now become quite large if you are not already a type 2 diabetic. Now, this is what happened to me, and you certainly do not want to grow older knowing that your risk of going blind has just gone through the roof because you're not looking after yourself. Now, I can understand it's difficult. Myself, when we went to the UK, we were in a total different environment. Our lifestyle changed dramatically, stress levels, things like that. So, yes, I appreciate those things. But I can say that you need to try and find a way that you do some high intensity interval training, and you need to try and lose some weight if you are more than 25 kilograms heavier than what you were at age 18. Now, thank you for watching, and in my next video we will delve a little bit deeper on my journey from the operating table right through to lying on a bed, a box literally. And if somebody told me 2 years ago that I would be doing YouTube videos, sleeping on the ground and walking barefoot, I would have told them that they're crazy. But this is what life does to you when it throws some curveballs to you. And I can only sit here today and be saying that I'm blessed to have my vision back, nearly the best I've ever had. And when I was younger, I did some crazy things, paragliding, and I broke off my Achilles. And after going barefoot walking, you can look at the video, you can see how my body and my feet and my ankle has actually now also been healed. And look forward to you seeing the rest of my story in my next episode of my retinal detachment journey.
Good morning, my name is Johan van Zyl and this is Michelle, and today we will be giving you a demonstration on why it is so important to react preventatively when you are young to make sure that you don't land up with thick glasses. So I have some balloons in my hand and Michelle has got some extra large size balloons. Now the balloons are actually, it's just a visual representation of your eyeball size. So imagine this is your eyeball. Now, if you are long-sighted at birth, genetically, your mother and your father maybe never wore spectacles until they were deep in their 40s, and you were blessed with an eyeball and a vision that you can see like a hawk far away, then this is now normally how your eyeball would look. You can see it is smaller than this one in my left hand. So if you are long-sighted, hyperopic at birth, your eyeball is smaller, the skin of the eye is thicker, the retina and the sclera is all a little bit stronger, the jelly inside is also smaller and stronger, because you can just see it, this balloon, it's a smaller balloon. There's less pressure in the balloon. The color is just more red. Now, this is if you are born long-sighted or hyperopic. This balloon represents somebody that's born with a normal vision. The eyeball size is slightly larger than a person that is hyperopic or long-sighted. And this is what the norm was. And in certain areas of the world, the norm is still this. Most children are born with reasonably good vision in general. So if you are blessed with normal vision, your eye doesn't have to strain when you look far away. This is how your eyeball would be looking. It's slightly larger than a person that's hyperopic. And we call this condition emmetropia. Your eye can relax. You can see the red is slightly less red, so the eye itself is a little bit thinner than a hyperope's eye. The volume, the size is a little bit larger as well than a person that's long-sighted. Now, in my case, I was born with one eye that was actually like this, which I inherited genetically from my dad. And my other eye, and Michelle now passed me this one here. You can grab hold of that one. My other eye I inherited from my mom, which was genetically short-sighted. And you can see that these two balloons are not the same size any longer. So my one eye was normal vision, and my one eye from birth was short-sighted. Yes, so this was what happened to me. So I was genetically already a different two eyes in my orbit, in my eyes. So when I went and studied, unfortunately I had to do some real hard work and looking close. And what happened is that both my eyes became more short-sighted. So the problem being is that excessive amounts of looking close actually triggers a stress response. And that stress response eventually most often leads to an adaptation. And the adaptation, like anything else, it would be to lessen the stress. So if you look at like your eyes, if you do 6 or 8 hours a day of looking close, your eyes will eventually become better for looking close. And anything that's normally better is also stronger. So what happens is the eyeball actually grows larger. It literally becomes larger and stronger as a reaction to this excessive looking close. There's other ways that the body can cope with this as well. So my good eye, if I can put it like this, my normal eye went from this size and this prescription to being short-sighted with a larger size. And you can see that this red isn't as red as with this one, and the balloon is also a little bit larger. But what happened to my genetically predisposed eye? Let me show you. Michelle, pass me that big one there. Right, so grab hold of that one for us. Right, so my eye, which from birth genetically was this size, unfortunately went to this size. It became quite a bit more short-sighted during my studies and obviously in a couple of years thereafter as well. And you can see that if you look at this balloon, it's not as red any longer. It's larger. You can see the difference. The red is like becoming actually a little bit pink. And this was my other eye. The skin of the eye was thinner. The retina, the sclera was all a bit thinner. But what happened to the eye jelly? So when you are young, the eye jelly that's inside the eye that's transparent, actually it fills the void. It's strong. The eye jelly is tensile strength is good. It's supple. The eye jelly can it expands. It fills this gap, this volume naturally. But fast forward 30 years and a little light bump on my forehead caused this eye jelly to pull on the retina, and I developed a retinal detachment. And that is the risk if you do not look after children's eyes when they are young, is that the risk of becoming, especially if you are genetically predisposed, like in my case, if you are genetically predisposed, it is very important to see your optometrist yearly and make sure that, especially between the ages of 10 and 25, you try and manage your myopia so that it doesn't do what it did to me, unfortunately. So, and why is this important? Simply because there is a very, very high risk of this retinal detachments if you get glasses when you are young every year, and your glasses just become stronger and stronger, especially if you've been predisposed.